RP Show continues live from the Moose Jaw Golden Ticket Event Center, and we're very pleased to welcome in our good friend, national reporter Arash Madani. As Jerry Reed would sing, we got a long ways to go and a short time to get there, Arash, other than to say long time no see, partner. Can we start with a Stanley Cup final and 2-1 Florida's up? Where do you see this thing going?
I don't know, Rod. Through two games, you're saying to yourself, it's a coin flip series. Anybody can win this. How is this really going to, it's got to go 7 games, doesn't it? And then the Oilers
Yeah.
get run out of the and then the Oilers get run out of the gym last night, and you're saying to yourself, all right, this isn't going to be close. Now, to me, the question becomes, it's not just about goaltending. It really isn't. But how does Stuart Skinner, in a playoff run that has had every piece of the roller coaster, good, bad, bench, how does he respond? How do the Oilers respond as a team? Because it's not just that, they got shelled, it's that they didn't score either. So, having a couple of days off, I actually think is a good thing for Edmonton because you can just fully flush it. You're not thinking about it. It's over. And you can kind of regroup and go from there.
It's so great being in Canada for the summer, and I feel like Canadians are just waiting for the Stanley Cup to be over so they can start their summer. It's just a Canadian
Right.
thing. But you mentioned getting run out of the gym. That is, I think, a basketball term. And, dude, you've covered so many NBA finals. Listen, I got my eye on that. I know it's 1-1. We actually have people writing in with NBA questions for you. But how do you feel about the
All right.
Pacers Thunder and where this thing is at?
I would be honestly shocked if Indiana wins another game. I really would. And I get it. They're the comeback team. They're the comeback kings. Halliburton's out of his mind. All of it. This Oklahoma City team is not quite as dominant as the Celtics last year, but they're right there in the conversation with the Nuggets from the year before. For a team whose nucleus has never been through anything like this before, their resolve and bounce back, Roddy, throughout these playoffs has just been terrific. First it was Denver that took them to the limit. Then they had to have an answer in the next round. And now here they blow whatever it was, 15-point fourth quarter lead at home and answer back by thumping Indiana. The Pacers have so much talent. They're very good, but Oklahoma City's better. And I know Gainbridge, it's a different place. Like going into Indiana is going to be hard for OKC. But the Thunder, to me, man, you have Shea, it just changes. He's MJ, he's Kobe, he's LeBron. Like he's that level already, even without a ring.
I told you that viewers have questions for you. Jeremy in
Yeah.
Winnipeg says, Arash, do you think Kawhi Leonard is regretting leaving Toronto? LA has been all downhill for him.
It's a good question, Jeremy. I think the answer is no. I don't think Kawhi ever wanted to be in Toronto. Remember, it was a trade from San Antonio, DeRozan going the other way, that brought him here on an expiring contract. The stars aligned. Look, they were able to keep him healthy. And as much as the Clippers have been a disaster, and they are the Clippers after all, you look at now that Paul George trade and, with Shea and all those draft picks, but what could have been. Kawhi just hasn't been able to stay healthy. ACL, Achilles, hamstring. We never know, but probably would have run into the same kind of health stuff along the way. When Leonard's been healthy, he's been outstanding. The problem is he's spent more time in street clothes than he has in a uniform. But it's a great question, Jeremy.
For sure. And by the way, before we switch gears again, I'll ask you this. It drives Serena crazy that in Florida or all over the U.S., they never talk hockey on a daily basis. They just don't. I don't really care. In Canada, they don't really talk hoops or NBA. Now, with all these young kids playing hockey in Florida, maybe one day they will talk about it in that state. It's probably going to be 20 years. In Canada, do you envision a day where coast to coast hoops is a daily coffee row discussion?
It's a good question, Rod. My initial answer is yes. Two reasons. One, we don't have to go back that far. In 2019, very organically, the Raptors became a massive national story. Remember Mother's Day? Kawhi hitting the shot in the corner against Philadelphia, bouncing 3 or 4 times, the blue tongue, the crouch in the corner.
Oh yeah.
It felt like that Sunday night, a lot of people watched, and it was something like 1.7 million Canadians or something like that. By the time the finals rolled around, it was 7, 8 million Canadians. And it wasn't just that. It was outdoor viewing parties in communities across the country, people just gathering with lawn chairs and coming out to watch in like town squares or whatever. Shoot, in Regina at Mosaic, they were playing the game up on the big screen.
22,000 showing up to watch it on TV.
And what I remember about that summer is going to visit friends, all around Southern Ontario and um, cottages and whatever. And you know what I saw, Roddy, on cul-de-sacs and driveways, gravel driveways, streets, brand new basketball hoops going up. If you think about the fastest growing sports in this country amongst like at a grassroots level, it's two. It's flag football and it's basketball. Soccer is still the number one participation sport, but uh, it, I just really believe that kids, young men and women, youth are more into hoops than any other sport. And when they become our age, when they become consumers, what are they going to be into? I think basketball is going to be a big part of that.
That's why I'm saying it's going to take 20 years. But I saw it in the 90s with kids playing soccer around here. And now we know where soccer is in this country. It's because kids were
Sure.
playing it. They know the sport. Listen, I said that we would dabble over to the NFL in a second with Aaron Rodgers. But you do have a take on the Argos. They are 0-1, and what, they got Calgary in there on Saturday. But
Yeah.
don't think Chad Kelly's going to be starting. What's the latest that you know on him?
Yeah, I don't think Chad Kelly's going to be starting this week or next week, and maybe even the week after. I had thought they were going to put Chad Kelly on the sixth game. I wonder if there's some cap manipulation going on there, not from the Argos, but the league telling teams, hey, put fewer guys on the sixth game and let's get the cap number up that way instead of paying the players. But I don't think Kelly's going to start for at least the first 3 games, maybe even 4. I don't blame what happened in that game on Nick Arbuckle. I mean, the Argos offensive line was in disarray. I can't even imagine what it would have looked like if not for Coxie in that opener. But I just don't. I wouldn't expect to see Chad Kelly until the end of the month, maybe the beginning of next.
Kirk in Toronto writes in. He says, "Hi, Rod. Going to get my Grey Cup ring this Saturday against Calgary. They're big and beautiful, and the first 10,000 fans get one." So, I don't discount the Argos ever. If it's a pinball thing, a Dinwiddie thing, I don't know. It's so early, Arash. I mean,
Oh
even
my God,
yeah,
yes.
right.
What I mean, they were basically give or take a 500 team through the first half of last season. You saw what happened. Look, Roddy, you and I have talked about this over the years, and CFL people don't like that expression that the season starts on Labor Day. But, in baseball, 162 games, Sparky Anderson or Jim Leland, one of the two, one of those old school managers, always had the line, hey, look, end of May, be 500, be healthy. Season starts then. You have 100 games to go. The CFL, be 500, be in the hunt, be healthy, add a guy or two if you need to. Beginning of September, then the season really gets going. So at this point, I don't want to say it's like evaluation mode because that's what training camp is. But the roster that the Argonauts have today is going to be different than the fall, just like every other team. And the quarterback that the Argonauts have is going to be different. So, put all those together and it's just June 10th.
Kelly missed the first 9 games last year. Got
Yeah.
him to the Grey Cup and then didn't play. And this guy
Well,
won.
right.
So
And in week 10, he hadn't played in forever, so he was rusty. Week 11, he started coming around. Week 12 is when he, found his stride. So there's a lot of football left. There's like this is just the infancy, the walk before you run. Um, yeah.
our YouTube and Instagram poll today question for EMJ Marketing is Will Aaron Rodgers make the Steelers a contender? I'll tell you, 89% of Instagram voters saying no, he won't. And I don't need to tell you, my definition of a contender is will they win the Super Bowl? It's a no from me and a lot of people.
Here's a question, Rod, and I mean this sincerely. By U.S. Thanksgiving, who is the starting quarterback in Pittsburgh?
Was Mason Rudolph the backup?
He is,
Yeah.
and you think about where the Steelers have been. Last year it started with Justin Fields, then it went over to Russell Wilson, and by right around that time of year, Mike Tomlin didn't want either of them. Now Tomlin's the one behind this. Tomlin's the one saying, "Let's bring in Rodgers." So it's amazing how you have to hit on draft picks, especially quarterbacks, Roddy. Because if Kenny Pickett had been the guy, none of this would be going on. But instead, to overcome the Pickett miss, it's Justin Fields, it's Russell Wilson, it's Aaron Rodgers, and then who knows what else happens in October and November.
Well, how much of it are you following it? Because I saw this headline. I was saying this earlier. I saw the headline that said Steelers fans flame signing of Aaron Rodgers. I'm like, if that's because he's unvaccinated or because he's a
No, that's nothing to do
whatever.
with
I didn't read
Rod.
the article. Yeah.
Yeah,
Why
look,
is it?
here's the thing on Aaron Rodgers. Nobody cares about the vaccination. That's so long ago. When was the last time Aaron Rodgers played at a high level? That's the question. That's
Mm-hmm.
the question. 23, he blows his Achilles before it even starts. 24, he was horrible. 22, he was in decline. So, like you're signing the ghost of Christmas past instead of the jolly old Saint Nick coming down the chimney. And this is the issue, is that you're bringing a guy way closer to 40 who's coming off an Achilles, who hasn't performed in a long time. Why do we think it's going to be different because the Steelers have one number one receiver? I don't know.
I, I'm chuckling because Jeff, the Stampeders fans watching in Calgary, he writes in, he goes, I still have my Vax card, LOL. As I was coming back to Canada, Arash, after 9 months in Florida, I'm going through my documents. I'm like, I got mine too. Do I still need this? I can't
Yeah.
remember what they're doing in Canada now. On the Canadian sports topic, Scott in Vancouver says there's another reason the Wanderers owner, the soccer team, hasn't gone all in on the CFL in Halifax. Kids there aren't playing that sport. Tony from Cochrane, Alberta says the CEBL, Canadian Elite Basketball League, is a start for hoops being in Canadian sports talk, but we need two more NBA teams, Vancouver and Montreal. Before we jump back into the NFL, what's
Let
your
me just
read on
stop.
that?
Let me just
Yeah.
stop on both of
Go
those
ahead.
things. I went to a CEBL game on Saturday in Scarborough. It was awesome. They packed it. Uh, Jalen Harris, who was a second round pick of the Raptors a few years back, who played in Scarborough, now with Winnipeg. Uh, it's a bank shot to win it and just kind of wave him goodbye to the fans. Andre DeGrasse was sitting there courtside. A bunch of YouTube influencers were around. The place was rocking. It's great. It's a summer league. It's got a long way to go to break into mainstream, but it's amazing in a short period of time how well it's done and the fact that it survived. Two, um, there is not expansion coming to Vancouver and Montreal probably in our lifetime. Like, not both, maybe one, maybe. But that doesn't happen until Vegas and Seattle get a franchise too. And Adam Silver at his State of the League address suddenly became a little lukewarm on it because owners are getting a ton of money right now from Amazon, from NBC, and the TV rights, and the owners don't want to split that up. So I think it's a long way before there's. I think it's going to be a considerable amount of time before there's expansion in the NBA, and a long time before there's going to be expansion into Canada.
Really interesting what you say on all of that, but particularly the CEBL stuff, because it is amazing. Jalen Harris started with the Rattlers last year and bounced on them midway through the season. Like, I'm following it too, but I don't
Yeah,
expect
it's
the guys at the Tim Hortons and Moose Jaw to be talking about it. You know what they're talking about today? The Stanley Cup and the Stanley Cup and the Stanley Cup. Now that's Moose Jaw. I don't know what it's like in Eastern Canada, but I back to the NFL for a second. If you were watching earlier, I said any NFL topic on this show elicits more comments than any other topic on this show.
yeah,
And I think that's because the viewers know who all the players are. Whatever it is, all the personalities, the players, how the NFL's done it is a masterclass. I don't really know how
yeah,
they did it.
and look, until the economics of the CEBL change significantly, and a lot of these secondary sports leagues, that's not going to be the case because the players are transient; they come and go. There's a reason the NFL markets its stars. A, it moves the needle. B, it avoids the underbelly of people realizing kind of what goes on for roster spots 10 through 53 and beyond. And man, like between the gambling side of it, the fantasy side of it, uh, they are 365. They are it. So as much as in Moose Jaw they're talking about Connor McDavid today, and of course they are, I'd say a month from now the topic of conversation is probably closer to NFL than NHL once the summer rolls around.
Yeah, and then that's a topic for another day is where does the CFL fit into that? It's just that here it used to be rabid, and that's here. That's Saskatchewan. It's not rabid anymore. They're paying attention, but are they buying the tickets? Are they going to the games? And maybe we should wind this up on the CFL, if you don't mind, with the new commissioner, Stuart Johnston. He was out here last week. I think he made a tour to a few of the markets. What's he going to bring? Because your boy, Dave Randorf, goes, he's exactly what the CFL needs. You know how Rambo talks. That's what he said to me in Florida like a month ago. Why would he say that?
He would say that because Stuart Johnston knows the CFL inside and out. He saw, like, he's followed it. He had intimate knowledge of it, working, with Bell on the broadcast side of things. He understands where the shortcomings are. He understands where the opportunities are. He understands content. No predecessor has had any kind of grasp of content the way Stuart Johnson does. He understands the marketplace in terms of what kind of money the content can bring in for the league and how to navigate it in a time of disruption. He's not using distractions. Hey, look over here. We're going to talk about expansion to Halifax. Hey, look over here. We're going to talk about this, fictional
The
global
XFL.
program. Hey, look over here. We're going to bring Johnny Manziel in, and he's gonna save the day. He's not doing any of that. He's rolling up the sleeves and doing the work. He's understands it's about selling tickets 2 by 2, but it's about expanding and improving content, expanding and improving your rights deals. And those are the things that Stuart Johnson understands. He understands how to go about it, and he understands the power players in all of it. So I think those are part of the reasons Randorf is probably quite bullish on Mr. Johnston.
And I never asked why. Dave, he didn't give you a minute to give your side of things. He's like a little tornado, and that people wouldn't know that about him. That's why we love him. But anyways, Arash, you got time for a call this week? Let's get one in, brother.
Say that again, Roddy. Sorry.
You got time for a call this week?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, holler anytime, bud.
All right, let's do it. The inimitable and award-winning Arash Madani joining us, talking about all the topics. When we come back, a sports update and viewer takeover the rest of the way. You're watching the RP Show on the Game Plus Television Network, streaming live and found